okay?
I'll have to look. I honestly have not had a chance to put that episode together yet,
You're totally fine.
but tonight
I
I
think
should look at. My goal is to knock out that episode and this episode tonight and have everything kind of updated tomorrow.
Perfect. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I'll let you know.
I dropped perfect. I dropped I think my gate was really, really aggressive, and so I dropped it a little bit for last recording and this recording, so it shouldn't be as choppy.
Okay.
So we should be okay.
Yeah, it sounds good. YouTube, hello. I think we're streaming.
Hey, YouTube.
I see there's a viewer, so hello.
Hey.
Welcome in. Hope you're doing well.
I got a bookshelf.
Yeah. Very nice.
Give us $1 and I'll read a page from one of the books.
Wow. Technically, the viewers are able to do that.
Yeah. Give me $1 and I'll do it.
Oh man. All right. $1 and Josh picks a book at random.
$1 and I'll get like a random number generator. I'll figure out the number of books I have, and then I'll just flip to a random page.
Beautiful.
I'll do that for $1. Yeah.
All right.
That works.
All right.
Check. I'm good.
Sweet. I think I'm good too. I'll get us started here. Well, let me hit record on Audacity and then I'm good. All right. Check 1, 2, 3. Nope, that didn't work. Close Audacity. And open Audacity. All right. Check 1, 2. There we go. All right. I'll get us started.
Welcome to the Fifth and Goal Sports Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Aaron, Josh, and Johnny.
Gentlemen, O-H.
I-O.
There we go.
It's good. It's good to be back with you guys.
Perfect and seamless.
Sorry, what did you say, Josh?
I said edit that where I say I and then he says O and it's seamless and like we planned it.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
Yes. Well, listeners, welcome in. Well, look, we warned you last week, right? We warned you that we were either going to be inconsolably upset or just over the top, obnoxious, screaming Ohio against the world. And guess which version you're getting today. Guess
I haven't watched the game yet, so I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, we won't spoil it for you, Josh.
Perfect.
Yeah. We'll leave that one a secret. So we'll obviously get into the game.
Meeting. Yes. I did have a meeting this morning.
Okay.
And I go in. I'm the only Ohio State guy, and one of the guys leading the meeting, he's like, "Hey, I'm only halfway through the game. Don't tell me how it ends." And I'm like,
"That's wild." Dude. That's wild.
I showed up to this 7 a.m. meeting. How do you think?
Yeah, no way, man. No way. No, you can't not for a championship. You can't do that.
Pleasant to be around on 3.5 hours of sleep. How do you think it went?
Yeah. How sleepy are we all today? Whew.
Very.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yep.
The end of the day has been quite the drag.
My heart rate.
But it's okay.
My heart rate did not go down until I think 11:30 last night.
Oh wow, early.
Yeah,
pretty early, Josh.
I know. I took some melatonin. Yeah, it helped.
Oh man.
It only took an hour to work. It was perfect.
Well, that's not bad. Well, that's obviously the main topic of conversation today, but we'll get into some NFL playoffs because we are down to 4 teams in the NFL. I'm sure there's something stupid that happened on Twitter we'll yell about, but it does make sense. Let's just jump right into this game because usually we go around and say, hey, my week was so-and-so. My week, you know what? For today,
We all know how our week was.
Yes, our week was dependent on how yesterday went, and as we're recording, it went quite well. Listeners, if you're watching, or viewers, I guess if you're watching on YouTube, by all means, and this applies to any show we do, feel free to throw your thoughts in the chat. What did you think of that game yesterday? What were your thoughts? What were your emotions? We'd love to just hear from you. If you're an Ohio State fan or not, maybe if you're if you're a neutral fan, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts because, well, we'll get into that. But the Buckeyes do it. First championship since the 2014 season. And it's this wild thing. We've talked about the format ad nauseum. That's not necessarily what we're trying to do today because, look, it's the season's over. It's a championship for Ohio State. Kind of end of story. In the end, the way this format played out is the gauntlet that Ohio State faced and ran through was unbelievable. I think they ended up with the final AP poll coming out. They beat 6 of the top 9 teams, and they themselves were a top 9 team. Georgia was one of the few teams that escaped their grasp. And look, I think we know how that game would have gone anyways, right? So that's what's, I think, so remarkable about this team.
Hypothetically.
Now, good point. Good point, Josh.
Thank you. Sorry. I remember.
True. SEC wins that hypothetically. Actually, Ohio State wins. But I think that's the main takeaway, right? Like, obviously, you have the Oregon and the Michigan loss that played into this. But the fact that the Buckeyes went 4-0 against the likes of Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, Notre Dame, and 3 of them in neutral locations, and one of them, frankly, in a road venue, basically. Johnny, you can kind of attest to that. That's what stands out so much about this team. When you thought that when that Michigan loss happened, a lot of us were like, all right, well, that's kind of it. There's no chance Ohio State pulls this off. And yet here we sit on January 21st with the Buckeyes lifting that trophy. They were so eager, they didn't even wait for the guy to announce who won. They were picking that thing up. They were ready for it. Ryan Day yeeting that headset 7 rows deep in the stands.
I
hope it didn't hit anybody.
Yeah.
I hope it did. Nice souvenir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But just reactions from yesterday. I know we're less than 24 hours out from this as we're sitting here recording, but just your reactions and your emotions, guys, because what a night.
Oh, I saw someone, and I have 2 immediate emotions, and they're based on memories of podcasts we did, where at least I sat down. It was the recording after the Michigan loss. And I remember us, and I believe John, you may have said this. He was like, okay, so do we keep Ryan Day if he beats Tennessee but loses to Oregon? And we had a few of these hypotheticals play out where we're like, okay, we're ready for Ryan Day to go away. That would have been a good tagline. And 2, I remember for some reason, I must have just been in my feels a podcast or 2 ago, and I was like bemoaning how the regular season didn't matter. And then I saw another person complain yesterday about how this meant the regular season didn't matter for Ohio State, and I'm like, no. From the standpoint of like what we saw on the field from Tennessee to last night as of this recording, that Michigan loss was, I never want to justify it, but there's no way we see, in my mind, the complete, utter, like, confident dominance that we saw without the heart-to-hearts. It's way too early to tell, but why else are we here on this podcast? I dare say, I don't know if Ryan Day's career at Ohio State lasts as long as it theoretically might if he squeaks by Michigan, maybe squeaks by Tennessee, and loses to Oregon again. There's such a night and day difference from end of regular season to what we saw last night that I'm like, oh, this might be like a real change. Now, way too early to tell. The guys have 6 weeks until the spring game. I think Ryan Day is going to try and push it back a little bit.
Which is insane.
which is insane.
Whatever that number is ridiculous.
Whatever that, it's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Play the championship sooner. Like that is part of the answer
that's
there.
easy. Yeah, I was going to say, that's not even necessarily a 12-team playoff, right? It partially is, but it's like, oh, just schedule them sooner. Faster turnarounds.
Yeah.
Not like a 9 or 10 day break in between. Just knock them out. But my emotions are, good.
Yep.
Yeah. No, Josh, I agree. I think the crazy part is I still, and I don't know if I'll ever understand why it took that game
right
for that to occur. I wholeheartedly agree with what you just said, because if you're a Buckeye fan, and even if you're not, if you just were watching and paying attention, it's not like they were playing out of their minds and then they had this one blip on the radar and, whoa, what happened in the Michigan game? And then they went back on their merry way.
Yeah, we would have just had
it was night and day difference pre-Michigan game, post-Michigan game on how they were playing on the field, and they don't win the national title without losing that game. And I can't fully understand or explain
we can't
why that had to happen, but it clearly did. So moving on from that and kind of focusing more on the game itself, but that is a key storyline. That's why people keep bringing it up, because it matters in the broad scheme of things. The game itself, because I'll talk, I guess, a little bit more about the game itself. It really kind of went down exactly how I would have thought for 3 full quarters, where Notre Dame, hats off to them on that first opening drive. Aaron, what was it, 18 plays?
Yeah, 18 plays.
Madness.
Oh, I think over 10 minutes, I think.
Yes,
you could not have
over 10 minutes.
You could not have had a better drive for Notre Dame.
Riley Leonard, 9 rushes, but it wasn't sustainable. And I don't know how much you were able to notice in person, Aaron, because I know there's benefits to being in person and benefits to watching on TV.
Right.
But Riley Leonard literally went to the sideline and threw up after the play, because that was just not sustainable. Yes, he was getting 6 yards a carry, but he was getting lit up every single time. And then Ohio State adjusted and brought their safeties down and loaded up the box. And Jeremiah Love only had 4 carries. I thought that was absolutely wild. And I understand the game plan kind of got thrown out the window when Ohio State just scores time after time after time to start the game. Ohio State's offense couldn't have started off better. I was in awe of the original stubbornness of Notre Dame to say that, no, we're going to play man. And I'm like, I almost thought that they were lying to us all week. Like, they couldn't be playing man. Like, there's no way they're actually going to do it. No. And then they did. And then they're like, oh, no. Because Will Howard started off 14 of 14, I believe, and just dicing them up, because and in fairness to Notre Dame, this is the first time all season they've faced a team that they're not more physically gifted than when it comes to a secondary. Because Penn State, it's all tight end and running backs. They didn't play anybody. And the only team that gave them problems was USC, who has wide receiver talent. So I was in awe that they were stubborn and stuck with that. They did kind of adjust to a little bit of a zone after that, and they were able to prevent Ohio State, but a lot of that was Ohio State preventing themselves, just getting really conservative. Credit to Notre Dame, but I felt like as a fan, it was another one of those frustrations of, we're running nondescript run plays again. Please don't. Keep your foot on the gas.
I got a little worried. Anyway.
But and that's where I just want to make sure, like, hey, like, Notre Dame, this game's 31-7. Ohio State dropped 31 in a row on them and easily could have just rolled over and died. And I think the old version of Notre Dame does roll over
Brian Kelly
and die.
Team.
Yes. Like, and Marcus Freeman is an outstanding coach.
Yes.
And that second half, specifically the fourth quarter, fully vindicated him and his program and his culture. Because also, I think that's the best quarter of passing, I've seen Riley Leonard in his entire career.
Yep.
And Great
Oh,
House
yeah.
was unbelievable as well. He really stepped up the last 2 games of the playoff. But I just like Notre Dame is not going anywhere. That's a excellent program. But Ohio State, just that was the team that we were promised, that they promised. I think lost in the expectation of the fan base was the expectations they set upon themselves coming into the season. And they said, we are coming back to win a national championship. And they did cash in on that. So all the credit in the world to them. The running backs, it worked, being fresh. They were outstanding. It was a Judkins game, where last game against Texas was more of a Henderson game. This was more of a Judkins game. And you just love that. But I mean, that was the beauty of the 2 running backs. They stayed healthy. They were fresh. You would just they both had over 1,000 yards. There's so many different players and people you can talk about on this team. But one more thing, one guy in particular, I want to point out because, again, you could talk about every single guy on this team, but one that I think deserves a special shout out is Donovan Jackson. McLaughlin, Ohio State's starting center, tears his Achilles, I believe, on a Wednesday before Penn State. And we've already lost to Oregon. You know, we struggled against Nebraska. Now here's Penn State coming, which I picked to beat Ohio State. I'm just going to be honest there. And Donovan Jackson, who is an All-American left guard, decides to go play. Like, they ask him, can you play left tackle for us now? We need you to move to left tackle. Like, basically to save the season at that point. And he moves over to left tackle, selfless, which I think is the theme of this team.
Yeah.
And in the playoff, I'll just say his playoff stats. I won't run you through all the games he started. He gave up 0 sacks. He had 0 hurries, and he gave up 1 pressure total. The man had never played left tackle before then. And I think that is just like, that's the team, man. Like, he was one of the last guys to say, yeah, I'll come back. And if he does not come back, they don't win the national title.
Yep.
They really don't. They absolutely don't. They lost their left tackle. They lost their starting center. Credit to him. I think he improved his draft stock mightily in doing so as well. And that's deserved. But that's not why he did that. He did that for the love of his team and being able to do that.
Yeah.
And I just think he deserves that special shout out because that, and he played amazing, you know, in doing that. And if you're not intimately aware of schematics, that's the blind side of the quarterback that he's protecting there. And in the game against Notre Dame, like, Will was phenomenal. A big reason why he was clean.
Yep.
He was clean all night. So shout out to Donovan Jackson. We will miss you, my friend.
Well, and to your point, Johnny, Jim Nagy, who is I think the senior executive of the Senior Bowl, said as much. What he did kicking out from left guard to left tackle might be the most impressive thing we've seen from any draft-eligible offensive line prospect this year. That's what he tweeted out I think really just after the game. So, yeah, that's a worthy shout out, and it's there's so many good stories and there's so many good players that some of this is flying under the radar because you have stories like, you know, Quinshon Judkins, phenomenal game, 3 touchdowns. He, along with Travion, become the first Buckeyes to both rush for 1,000 yards in a season. Emeka Ibuka and Jeremiah Smith also both topped 1,000 yards. I'll just say, too, Emeka Ibuka, probably one of the most underappreciated, and like I think he's appreciated, don't get me wrong, but probably one of the most underappreciated Buckeyes ever, just because of the just stupid amount of talent that Ohio State has had at that position. But when it's all said and done, who leads in receptions now all time at Ohio State? It's number 2. And he had some great catches yesterday in some crucial moments. I'll say this because I think that was the big story of this game heading into it was Notre Dame, the top man-to-man defense team in the country, statistically, versus Ohio State. And that got out of hand quickly. It's interesting because there was a lot of times where Jeremiah Smith, He was basically one-on-one the entire game. There was a lot of times that I could see this from my vantage point way up in the 300 section, where they would Notre Dame would kind of sneak a safety back there. But then right when and maybe you could see this from the TV too. I haven't watched the broadcast film yet, but they would kind of sneak that safety towards the line, trying to stop the running backs. And I was just sitting there waiting for that shot that we saw on the 3rd and 11 or whatever it was at the end of the game. And I was waiting for it. And I was like, man, I can't believe we're not pulling the trigger on this. And then I sat there and thought, I'm like, well, you know what? We're 4 for 4 with 4 touchdowns. Like, so what if we're not trying to take the top off the defense with like maybe a slightly riskier play? We're 4 for 4. We're melting the play clock. So great. We're scoring touchdowns on every drive. I guess I really can't sit there and be picky about why we're not throwing to number 4, because when we needed it, I mean, Ryan Day and Chip Kelly had the guts to roll that play call out. Chip Kelly's play calling was just phenomenal. Yeah, we all kind of agree. Like it got a little nervous. Maybe we, tried to put in the 4-minute offense or whatever you want to call it. With halfway through the third quarter, might have been a little early for it. But we're sitting here with the trophy, so I can't really complain about that too much either. No. And you know what? It kept people engaged, I guess. Probably better for ratings or whatever stupid thing ESPN needs.
They got an email from New York saying, hey, can you drag this out? We're losing viewers.
Yeah, thankfully Day not injured in a horrific golf cart accident. So, I mean, that
wall
so
came
funny.
Out of nowhere.
Oh my gosh,
out of nowhere.
Listen, you tried driving a golf cart full of guys who just won like the most significant trophy of their lives.
Yeah,
they don't care.
No.
They're in such a good mood.
Will Howard
None of
was
them
dying
cared at
laughing.
all. They had a great laugh about it.
Oh, they loved it.
I do just want to say one last overarching kind of thing. Like college football fans are crazy. We're insane. Mm-hmm. Maybe at the foremost as
lunatic
Buckeye
fringe,
fans.
one might say.
Absolutely lunatic fringe.
A little bit of seriousness doesn't make us forget, Kirk. Anyway,
our mental well-being, right or wrong, is somewhat dependent upon how these players and coaches and teams do. And we were really critical and harsh of Ryan Day. And I think rightfully so in a lot of ways. But that also makes me so freaking happy and proud to see like the weight lifted off of him winning that national championship. Like you could just see the joy of him and the joy his players had, not winning even just for himself, but for each other and for him. Mm-hmm. So we're uber critical. So and we expect our standards are crazy high, but the standard's the standard and he met the standard. So, just making sure that we give him just as much credit as possible when he does meet that standard, to equal out the criticism he gets at all times. He absolutely deserves it. Really happy to see him able to finish it off. And I'm excited to see what that does for him in the long run. Just kind of the monkey off his back, just that weight gone, and see if there's some freedom to that. Kind of like Kirby Smart kind of had that freedom after finally beating Alabama and getting that off his back and winning that title. And you noticed that, like him coaching almost freer after that. So it'll be intriguing to see going forward.
Well, and again, I'm not looking too far ahead because we're not even 24 hours from this title.
No.
But I do have to point out that, and this is not something I normally care about, but the 2 top odds teams to win next year are Ohio State and Texas. They play week 1. Guys, we could see number 1 versus number 2. It's very possible that's how it's set up. And
we've had that before, OSU, Texas in 06.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time we've had 1-2 to start the year. I'd have to do some digging on that because they did not start the year. But you're right, they were 1 and 2, which is pretty insane. So I'll say one other thing because I had the chance to go there. A couple things. One, I don't necessarily have a frame of reference for this, as I've never been to a national championship before, but I thought Atlanta absolutely killed it in terms of how they hosted this thing. I hadn't been to Mercedes-Benz before, but a lot of the pregame stuff they had some outdoor stuff. It was freezing in Atlanta, and this is coming from an Ohioan who is looking outside and it's dark and like 0 degrees right now. It was cold. It was like 20 and windy, and it was cold. Like Georgia, I don't normally I'd say, 50, you guys are freaking out. It was cold. I'll give you that one. So we didn't hang out like outside for some of the stuff. They had like pregame concerts with some artists that I'm sure are popular that I
Was
didn't know their
Shaq there
names.
too?
No, I did not. No, I would have sat outside in the cold for Shaq.
No DJ Diesel.
No DJ Diesel. But we went inside to the convention center, like right across the street, and they had this massive, I think they called it like the fan celebration. So we walk in, there's all kinds of activities. Like there's all the sponsors are set up, right? But they have like fun football activities. You can throw the football in the target or whatever. There was Gatorade handing out free samples. If you wanted to wait in the extremely long line, you could take a picture with the trophy. And they also had like the Rose Bowl trophies and all basically the New Year's Six trophies up there. They had the Heisman. You could kind of go on this like self-guided picture tour. Well, one of the other things they had was you could kick a field goal, not super unlike College Game Day. And so the line wasn't horrible. So I am like, you know what? I've always wanted to try this. I don't think I've kicked a field goal since like high school, and that only happened like once because I grew up in the middle of nowhere and we didn't have a football field nearby. So like I kicked in the backyard, whatever. So I get there, like I'm watching these people, kick it, and like some are having some success, like really like strong kicks, like straight down the middle. You've got some people that are struggling a little bit, but I'm like, I feel pretty good about this. And I step up. You get 2 chances for this, and I step up and I drill the first kick right down the middle. Except that I drilled it right down the middle and it got off the ground about a foot. So missed by a ton. Right down the middle. Dead straight. But line drive, foot off the ground. I'm like, and I'm trying to kick on a tee. I can't say I've ever done that before. So I'm like, okay. So I've got the second attempt. I'm good. I kind of take a deep breath, step back, like even do the little kicker routine where you kind of take a step back and then you step to the side and then you approach the kick. Same exact thing happened. So Johnny, I will be reaching out for some kicking lessons apparently because that was devastating. Sure. Because I am leaving the line and this 8-year-old kid, lefty, just smokes 2 in a row, like straight through. And I'm like, this is bad. Oh, no. So I'm sitting there watching College Game Day this year, and I'm like, these guys are idiots. I can't believe they're missing all these kicks. These dummies. This is so easy. And I have to admit that I was served some humble pie there. So I will be reaching out for kicking lessons. That was not a good showing on my part.
They want you to
Aaron, I have a critical question.
Okay.
Did you get to meet Perry the Pylon?
No, I did not. Unfortunately, I know.
What? No.
Yeah. Oh, I saw the Chick-fil-A cows were everywhere, so I saw them.
Oh, man, that's so disappointing. You only see them at the national title game.
I know.
He needs to come out more often.
Yeah. Anyways, that was the sidetrack. That was one of the things. The other thing was, and I tweeted this out, some of you may have seen it on our 5th and Goal account. If you're on Twitter and you're not following us, you should. We put out dumb tweets every so often. And this was not me being a biased Ohio State fan. I was just reporting the news. Ohio State fans were in their seats with 45 minutes until kick, already standing, cheering, singing songs with the band, watching the players warm up, getting hype, whatever. The Notre Dame side was half empty and everyone was just kind of sitting down. And I do think, like, leading into the game, I think a lot of Notre Dame fans did feel some trepidation, like obviously thrilled to be in the championship. But like I was in the elevator heading to the hotel when I got there, and with like all Notre Dame fans, I was like, we're just chatting, being friendly, and they're like, all right, take it easy on us. And I'm like, well, I think you guys are a good team. Like, I think you'll be fine. And it turns out they were kind of right. But I do think Notre Dame fans kind of had that sense. And for what it's worth, it played out, at least in the pregame. Now, they obviously showed up. They filled in the stadium, and they were pretty noisy when things were going well, which for the most part was really only that first drive. But overall, Buckeye fans, you absolutely killed it. It was, we're standing the whole game. Obviously, it's the national championship. You kind of expect that. But I will say, Ohio State fans, for as spoiled as we are, and the number of times that we've had the chance to go to the national championship in the last 20 some years, this is appearance number 6 in the last like 22 years, something like that. Yeah, heck of a job by Buckeye fans. So shout out to you all, and hope you all survived the Atlanta airport. Sounds like it was pretty dicey today. I was out of there early enough that I didn't have any problems, but sounds like it was kind of dicey with everyone trying to leave. So, and Notre Dame fans, I'm with you, Johnny. Notre Dame wins its championship with Marcus Freeman. I fully believe that.
Yeah.
One of the reasons is because they get $20 million from this college football playoff to themselves. They don't have to share it because they're not in a conference, which is wild. But that's just how this format is set up. So,
you know what? Respect.
Yeah.
No, Josh, no. Bully them into joining a conference.
Here's the thing.
They got the bag, though. I mean,
yeah,
that's
they did.
I was going to say, they get the bag, and I already talked about this last podcast. I may as well talk about it again. Would you rather be Notre Dame and, like, fight that hard to stay independent and occasionally it'll pay out? Or do you want to stay Rutgers and get a guaranteed milli every time?
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Also, because Notre Dame gets to play ACC teams. Like, you want to play Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Washington, Wisconsin, like all on a rotating basis, or do you want to play Wake Forest and Duke and this year's Florida State team? My goodness, like, like
myself, I'll play that Florida State team.
It's just Josh running around.
This year's Florida State team, there's a chance.
I'm not going to win. I'm not going to win. I don't
know.
I'm just curious. I just want to try something.
Yeah, worth a try for sure. I've got two thoughts that are going to sound like, well, they kind of are complaints, I guess. And this is not me trying to poo-poo the season at all, because this, like, we're living on cloud nine. The way I've been doom scrolling all of the apps, just looking at all the videos of people celebrating in Columbus, like breaking into the stadium, which I say in air quotes because they were literally let in because they asked, because that's how that works. Anyways, but like all that stuff is phenomenal. Just seeing all and being in Atlanta was something else. I do have a couple maybe concerns is a better way of putting it than complaints. Well, okay, I take it back. One's a complaint, one's a concern. The complaint is that ESPN, I think they did a good job with the playoff games that they were given as far as broadcasting them. I think they do a pretty good job, especially if you compare like crowd noise and some of the stuff to like Fox and NBC. We talked about that. It's far and away a better product overall. Even if you have some beef with the people announcing, for the most part, I think they do a great job. However, what I would say is when we think about this season, and not surprisingly, we're just going to be thinking about the playoff games, right? Like, you're going to think about the Ohio State-Michigan game. You'll think about, like, long-term. You'll look back and say, oh, yeah, that was the year Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame. I'm not sure there's a lot of other regular season games that you'll go back to and remember, like, oh, yeah, remember that game? And I will say, especially in the group of five, here's my plea and my complaint to ESPN. I understand that you have paid so much money for this college football playoff, which is seen by the absurd number of commercials that happened as part of this game. However, can you just do me a favor? When I'm watching the MAC, I don't care about the college football playoff. I don't care. When I'm watching the Mountain West CBS, I don't care who's ranked in the top 15 if neither of the teams I'm watching are in the top 15. I don't care. Fox, you too. None of you guys are immune from this. I understand that's what drives the money, and ultimately that's what this is about. I don't care. Give me more show me the MAC standings. Show me, like, here's this game coming up on next week, MACtion. I care so much more about that than the college football playoff. If I'm watching MACtion, I know what's happening in the college football playoff. No one's watching Bowling Green play Toledo and be like, oh, golly gee, is Alabama good this year? Like, and you know what? If they don't know, then they don't care. Right?
Yep.
So that's what I would like to see. Do me a favor, get rid of the playoff chatter when I'm watching a group of five game.
Especially early in the season.
Yes.
Especially early in the season. We'll get there.
Yes.
We'll get there.
Yep.
There's plenty of time.
Yep. I don't need to see like a graphic or anything until mid-November for the playoff. In an ideal world. And that probably goes for all broadcasts too. Now, here's my other, and this is more of a concern. We've talked about this. It's the nature of this 12-team format, and I'm not picking on this format tonight. But what it does is extend the season by a lot, right? We're sitting here on January 21st and the season just ended. The season's way too long. I have a couple of concerns.
Yes.
One is I think you're going to have some fatigue with college football fans over this. Even some of the diehard fans. Let's think about it. Ohio State, let's say they make like the semifinals next year, which hopefully so. Hopefully they go beyond that. Buckeye fans have shelled out a ton of money to get to all of these games. Are they going to do it next year? Probably, because it's a massive fan base. But I think that's got to be something you at least consider moving forward. And the other thing is, and this is an indirect effect, and I'm guilty of it, because I'm one of those people that I'm dialed into college football from beginning to end. And now what are we transitioning into? For a lot of us, it's college basketball. Well, usually you're dialed into college basketball on January 2nd. And you're kind of picking, like I'm watching games, I'll watch games before, but I really, really get dialed in. Like I'm watching typically like multiple games a night in the college basketball season once college football is wrapped up. It's January 21st. We're like a month away from the conference tournaments starting. So college football is going to indirectly eat into college basketball. You're seeing like Penn State's a great example. They're struggling like crazy to get people to come to their games. And they're not a bad team.
No.
And it's a big school,
football team.
But it's a football team. And now that season's getting extended. It's affecting basketball season. So I do worry a little bit about that as a college basketball fan. Now, again, admittedly, as someone who kind of dials it up after football season, like a lot of us do, but I'm a little worried about what that looks like. Like you're giving fans less of a chance to really get to know some of these teams. Like the SEC is unbelievable, but how many fans who are even college basketball fans?
Conference.
Yeah, basketball conference, as we know. How many of us are like really dialed in, like know what's happening? Like Auburn and Tennessee play this week. That's like 1 versus 6. That's coming up this week. I wonder how many people attending the college football championship game last night even knew about that. And it's fine if they didn't. I'm not saying you have to be a college basketball fan to be a good sports fan. I'm just saying for the health of that, well, really both sports, college football and college basketball, is what you're doing now, is it sustainable? And I worry a little bit that maybe it's not. Well, time will tell, and that's a long-term concern. Also, no one at the top of college football cares because this thing made bank. So they don't care. But I care as a sports fan, as a fan of both college basketball and football. And so that is a long-term concern I see overall with just kind of where we are as a sport. Again, I'm not losing sleep over that right now because I'm losing sleep over the fact that the Buckeyes are national championships or national championships, that too, whatever.
Change the format next year too.
Yeah.
I'm all in favor now.
Yeah.
Change it every year.
Yeah. Change it every year. Make it try an odd number of teams.
Yeah. Let's try 11.
Sorry, Clemson.
Ooh, 11.
We hated you.
It's a reverse buy. You have to play 2 games, but you don't get to know which one actually counts.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, like a player to be named later, but a game to be named later.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like it, Josh. You're on to something there.
Yeah. That's my thoughts on the playoffs.
Middle to lower tier. Make us that first team that has to like play in.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about that in the offseason, I'm sure, too. When there's plenty of time to talk about coming into next year.
Yeah.
Believe me, this offseason, you're going to hear a lot about the potential for changes to the format, either this upcoming year or the year after. There will be plenty of time for us to talk about what we wish and what we hope for college football in the future, because as you all know, by no means are things set in stone in the college football landscape.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the countdown is until week 0, but it has begun. But until then,
Armageddon in Ireland.
That's true. I forgot about that. Iowa State, Kansas State. That's such a legit matchup. Like that could be a top 20, well, maybe a top 25 matchup. I don't know. Probably depends on
Iowa State certainly will.
Yeah. They finished, by the way, Alabama finished 17 in the AP poll, which is wild. So
cold weather basketball conference. That's
it's cold in the
they
SEC.
Have snow. They got snow.
Golf Shores.
New Orleans, I think, got half a foot of snow.
Oh my gosh!
So
Oh man. Man, they're cold and sad right now. That's too
we
bad.
stole their weather and football.
Yeah, like it's not 0 degrees outside for us right now.
No, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
It just means more.
Yep. Well, let us know. I think you can actually comment. By the way, quick note for listeners: Spotify. You may have seen a bunch of episodes go up in a row. We're working through some audio issues on there, so those should be up. I think you can actually comment in the episode. So let us know your thoughts. Again, Buckeye fan, not a Buckeye fan, whatever. Let us know your thoughts on this championship, on the playoffs, just your general thoughts. If you're watching live on YouTube, first of all, thank you. Second of all, you are more than welcome to do the same. We'd love to kind of react to what you're saying here as well about this. So obviously not the only NFL playoffs. Thankfully, the Buckeyes have kind of covered the wound that the Detroit Lions opened for me as a Lions fan on a week from Saturday. So that was tough. I think you can analyze that game any which way. I think the big takeaway is those injuries on defense, the 18 people you lost, that just really caught up to you. And like Jared Goff did not play well, a lot of turnovers. At the end of the day, the Lions scored 31 points, had nearly, 400 yards of offense. Like any other game, you kind of expect to win the game with that kind of offensive output. They did not. They gave up 45 to Jaden Daniels, who was unbelievable.
Unbelievable, man.
Maybe like I should be upset with the Commanders and like not a fan of his because of like how he beat my team. I love the guy, dude. He's so good. I love that he's having such success. Like I'm kind of rooting for them the rest of the way. Not just because they beat Detroit, but I just think what he's done is so good. So that happened in the NFC. They will face the Commanders, that is, will face their division rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles. Those teams split both of the regular season matchups. On the other side, we have a rematch as well. It's the Kansas City Chiefs, the big bad empire, and their referees in pockets that, quite frankly, no one even disagrees with. Like, that's not even a hot take. Like, on the broadcast, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are like, what the heck is happening? They're playing the Buffalo Bills. That's a rematch of an epic game those teams played. The Bills won that game. That is Kansas City's lone loss on the season. Well, other than that Denver game, which they didn't play anybody. So, guys, thoughts on this NFL playoffs? We've got the AFC Championship, NFC Championship. What are we thinking?
This has the potential to be, maybe for us, one of the most fun and Super Bowls we've seen in a while. Or this could be one of the, like... I have no personal hatred towards the Eagles, other than just, like, they've been recently, like, they know what victory's like. If it's Bills Commanders...
Oh, so fun.
Oh my gosh. Everyone just having a great time.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't care who wins.
I don't care who wins.
Ideal Buffalo, just because Buffalo's never won before, but yeah.
Of course, yeah. I mean, ideally, yeah. Like
But it's okay.
It's a perfect situation. Yeah, it'd be fine. If it's Chiefs Eagles, I'm punching something. Not someone.
Don't put that evil on us, Josh. Don't you speak that evil.
Violence. I hope not to. Also, don't look at the notes then. I hope not, but I also know how to read a room.
Yeah.
Just fair warning to the Bills. You need to win by double digits like you did the first time you beat Kansas City, so the refs can't save their golden boy. Because that was an abomination of an officiating game.
I just said no violence, and I mean that. Hey, listen, real quick. Bills, do you mind? Can you go ahead and, if they're gonna penalize you anyway for like looking at Mahomes too much, get your money's worth. All right.
No, Josh. No, hold on. No, I know you're whispering that. They need to actually do it, and I'm not advocating for an injury. I'm not advocating to be dirty. If you're going to get flagged for breathing on him hard, hit him.
Yeah.
Like when he's dancing on the sideline, pretending to go out of bounds, and you're going to get flagged because you get within a foot of him, hit him. A little bit. Because these defenders, and I understand why, they're afraid of getting fined and suspended. Because, we make this huge deal about how much money they all make. At this point in the season, attrition has hit these teams. You could have second or
Oh,
third
yeah.
string linebackers out there playing. They don't make that much money. So they're afraid of getting suspended, getting fined, getting that 15-yard flag. Like, again, I'm not advocating to try to injure Patrick Mahomes, but he is manipulating the rules, and he knows that the
flop was
official
crazy.
and they know he knows the
absolutely.
officials are protecting him. Again, I don't think there's some vast conspiracy perhaps throughout the NFL, but I honestly, and this is probably super hot take, but do you honestly not think that the officials have basically been told he doesn't get hurt? Make sure of it. He doesn't get hurt. Because that's not a conspiracy to me. So if he's dancing on the sidelines, that's a load of garbage. Hit him. Make him know he's not getting away with that. And it's worth the 15 yards that you get on that play. He needs to know he's not getting away with it. And he'll probably fake another ankle injury when you hit him like that. Even though you hit him in the chest, his ankle will start hurting again. But we have to help defenders out here. We've put them in an impossible situation where every new rule is now favoring the offense. And now these quarterbacks, not just Patrick, but primarily Patrick, can slide whenever they want. And the defenders are expected to defy the laws of gravity and physics to not breathe on them too much. And that's just not reason. The quarterback bears some level of responsibility for his own safety. If you decide to slide as a defender's coming at you, you're fair game, man. Like, and I'm sorry, like I may not like all the quarterback protections. When they're in the pocket, I do understand. When you go low for the below the knee, when you hit them in the head or neck area. I do understand. I don't love it, but I get it. When they pass the line of scrimmage running the ball, they're a running back now. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they're now a ball carrier. They should be fair game, and they should get no extra protections, in my opinion. I don't understand why they do.
Even
you
on
have
that,
now chosen to run past the line of scrimmage.
and even
You're
on
now
that
fair.
Jared Goff play where he gets absolutely blown up, the people on the broadcast said it should have been a penalty, and I think by the rules it should have been. And if to your point, if if that happens to Patrick Mahomes, they're executing the guy on live television,
Firing squad. Just
I'm here to tell you, and this is coming from a Lions fan. If you throw a pick and you're running back trying to make a tackle, you're a defender. Tough. If you get blown up on a block, tough.
Head on a swivel, man. Head on a swivel. It is football. It's content. And you know, that slide, what made me so infuriated, the flop didn't even infuriate me as much as the slide, Aaron, because the refs got it wrong twice. One, he can't slide that late. And two, they still didn't touch him. They hit each other. And the third point too, Patrick could have ran out of bounds there. He had every opportunity to run out of bounds, and he knew they'd protect him. And he turns inward to not gain any extra yards and draws that penalty. And when I get frustrated when people, and maybe I've talked about this before too, when they're like, well, the Chiefs won by, I can't remember the score. They won by 12 or whatever. They're like, oh, so that didn't matter that the Chiefs scored a field goal on that drive. No, it absolutely matters. That's not how football works. A score early in the game dictates your reactions throughout the rest of the game. Like you can't, especially in the NFL when the margins are usually so small, and the Texans screwed themselves as well. Like, let's not, this is not fully, the refs totally screwed the Texans, and that's the only reason they lost. How about you protect CJ Stroud a little bit, Texans? Like, my gosh, like
Just
he
for fun.
barely got off the field after the game. But that, like, opening field goal the Chiefs got was partially for that. And it's just, he gets the preferential treatment. Aaron, you said Jared Goff. I've seen Joe Burrow get his head almost ripped off by the face mask, and he doesn't get a flag. And so it's just, I don't want that called for what Patrick gets called for any quarterback, but it wouldn't be as bad if every quarterback got it. You know, and that's what you always ask, whether you're playing on, rec soccer or, youth basketball league, you just want officials to be consistent. Like you just want some consistency, and there's no consistency there, and they just bail them out. It's the timing. It's always on a third down, critical moment.
Right.
Oh, the Chiefs couldn't do it themselves, so let me help you out here. And like, I probably sound like just an embittered Bengals fan because we have to face them all the time. And that's probably an accurate representation of who I am in this situation. But I don't think it's good for the sport because, Aaron, what you said to start, every football fan who is not a Kansas City Chiefs looking through the rose-colored glasses there saw that game for what it was. And I tweeted that out. I said, the whole football public saw what a farce this is afterwards, and they did. And that's just we don't want to talk about the officials after a game like we didn't about the national title. And I know Ohio State won, so you're not going to,
right?
But like we didn't after like any of the college football playoff games. Really, the officials actually did a relatively good job, I think, remarkably so.
Yeah, compared to usual college refs. Yes.
Yeah, and we don't. That's awesome. That's part of why the playoff games were great. We don't want to talk about officials. We want to talk about Jaden Daniels, and Josh Allen, and hopefully that's what we're talking about going forward. That's all I'm saying. I hope there's a memo. I hope they fix it, and I hope it won't be because it'll be at Arrowhead. But I hope somehow it's a evenly called game. Sorry, rant over. There's been too much positivity on the podcast
That's
today.
Right.
I had to be angry for a moment, and I was angry. I told myself, don't watch that game. It was just going to make you angry.
Only pain will you find.
Yeah, I texted them this, and I was like, and what happened? I watched the game, and I got angry. Like, just so, you know, we do it to ourselves.
Well, you're not alone, even in this group of the three of us. A couple of notes, and then we'll come back to this because we are going to make picks. Actually, we'll probably come back to this in like 2 seconds. But a couple of notes. The divisional round of the NFL playoffs, teams with the more total yards went 0-4. I don't know how that happens.
Turnovers, man. Turnovers.
Yeah. Well, you're right. Because I texted a Ravens fan of mine this week. I think, unfortunately, the Lions and Ravens can open a bakery and be quite successful. The other thing that we're not going to discuss right now, maybe an off-season topic, and it's one that's ongoing. I don't really know how to justify this, considering how well he plays in the regular season. But Lamar Jackson is now 0-5 in the playoffs when his opponent scores more than 14 points.
Yeah.
It's difficult, kind of, for me to reconcile that with, again, I think he's probably winning his 3rd MVP, and I think he deserves it, even though, like, Josh Allen, I think, is in the conversation, not as good stats, but I think in theory, you consider the roster he has around him. I think you would probably take Derrick Henry as your running back. No disrespect to what the Bills have been able to do. That's a conversation that's being had ad nauseum and has been ad nauseum the last few weeks. Not getting into it, but I think that's probably one of the biggest, most eye-popping stats from the weekend of the playoffs of the divisional round is just, he just can't seem to figure it out. And it's not all him. There's certainly blame to go around. But
there's been plenty of remarkable quarterbacks in the past, Aaron, that have struggled for a really, really long time to break through in the playoffs.
Yep.
So he's not alone in bad company even.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
But you're right. It's kind of startling.
It is. It is. Well,
it's startling.
Speaking of the NFL, it's time for us to make some picks.
Sometimes the guys make picks based on their vast knowledge of sports. Sometimes they make picks based on vibes.
After much soul searching, after looking at a map, I have come to the conclusion.
Okay.
It's the Cavs. The Cavs. My Cavs, Josh. That's who you have, right?
It's the Cavs. It's the Cavs over the Nuggets. Yes, you got me.
Either way, they're probably going to be wrong. It's time for Picks of the Week.
Before we begin, could I remind everybody that I did promise that if the Nuggets play the Cavs in the NBA Finals, I will be doing the Nugget Challenge every matchup.
It goes 7. You're just downing, Johnny. If the series, you're dead because if the series goes 7, and on average they're scoring 100 points each, which is low. We're talking like 1,400 Nuggets in the span of 2 weeks. You will die.
It's okay. I will be
No, it's
training for a
not.
marathon at this time, and I will be.
So
okay.
that's just
Doesn't
going to overwrite?
even out. That's not the same.
You can always
These are not the same
exercise your
thing.
your way back to health.
Oh,
Always.
my.
So,
Well,
Anyway, back to our predictions for the Super Bowl.
yeah, that's what we're doing. Super Bowl. Real quick, our
Yeah.
current scoreboard. Josh has 3 points. Johnny has 3. I've got 2. I'm off to a red hot start of losing because I was stupid and thought, Kansas on the road against Iowa State. Surely they'll win in a college basketball game. They did not. So Johnny got an extra point there. He caught up to Josh. We all got a point for Ohio State winning the championship. So that's
Hooray.
exciting. And we're doing the same format. So we have 4 teams left in the NFL. We are giving you our Super Bowl predictions. A reminder how the scoring works for us. You get a point if your team makes the Super Bowl. You get an extra point if they win. I don't even know my strategy anymore because sometimes I go with my heart, that doesn't win. Sometimes I go with my brain, that doesn't win. Sometimes I just try to go on vibes, as the voiceover guy said. That doesn't work either. So this is more of a heart pick. I like this Bills team a lot. I love Josh Allen. He's hilarious. Like, the Bills TikTok account is just the most wild thing you've ever seen. By the way, welcome back, TikTok. It died, but it came right back. So I'm happy that we
one
saw.
long nap, and we could have totally missed the entire downtime of TikTok.
Yeah. If you slept for a long time Saturday night, you missed it all. So, anyways, I don't know. And it's part of what you said, Johnny, your rant. I feel that. I was sitting there and I'm fairly objective with all this stuff. I don't really hate the Chiefs, but I was sitting there just super annoyed by how that game played out. So I think partly because I want it to happen, I'm going to say the Bills get past the Chiefs. And I do think this Washington run finally comes to an end in Philly. I would like to be wrong about that too, just because I love Jaden Daniels. That team is just so fun. Dan Quinn has just put together something special there. Cliff Kingsbury. Wow. I think he's the ultimate example perhaps of a guy who should just be an offensive coordinator and never a head coach, but he may be a head coach when it's all said and done. He's had interviews and all that. I've got the Bills over the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I think the Bills finally snap the curse. I think it happens.
I would love that.
And it happens with a well-balanced Bills offense. They can run the ball. It's not just Josh Allen, although he's certainly a factor. They can pass the ball, even though you wouldn't think they'd be able to do so effectively after losing Stephon Diggs. They've been really, really solid on both ends. I think the defense is playing well. I think it's all shaping up for the Bills to win, which means that the Chiefs are winning by 20.
Probably.
Johnny, do you want to make your picks, or do you want me to go ahead?
Go
with
ahead.
mine?
Yours is very sad.
This is not my ideal. I'm not picking with my head. I am picking with the vibes, and the vibes I'm getting are dark vibes.
Oh, no.
I don't always.
Yeah, that's not normally what people mean when they say that. Good clarification, Josh.
I'm not picking what I'm about to pick. What I am about to pick. I'll enunciate later. Because I looked at the stats. I'm picking what I'm about to pick because I know that even with all the frustration, a three-peat is going to be a more compelling watch in the NFL Network's minds than the Bills finally snapping the curse. And then on the NFC side, whatever. I'm if I'm already sat on one side, I may as well be sat on the other side too. So I have Chiefs over Eagles. I have the three-peats. Am I happy about this? No.
I might not watch.
I
might not watch. I might not watch.
I'm going to go to a party full of people who say sports ball unironically. That way, at least it's on in the backgrounds, and then we're playing games or something.
I have a book. I literally have a book.
I think I have a. I left it at.
Josh, it could be a dictionary or an encyclopedia, and I might read that.
I have a. I don't think it's in this bookshelf, but I do believe I have a Managing Your Anger book somewhere.
Oh, that would be applicable.
That
would be quite applicable.
Oh, here we go. Actually, I have "Where's God When It Hurts." That might be
Perfect.
good for,
That's perfect. Thank you, Josh. All sports fans should probably have that book. It's just,
when a bunch of 19-year-olds you don't know don't score enough points.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, now that Josh has described the hellscape that would be in the Super Bowl matchup, and Eagles fans, I really have nothing against you guys,
No, I
would
really
be a huge Eagles fan once again in the Super Bowl, which somehow I'm always an Eagles fan in the Super Bowl. It's very weird. Anyway,
yeah, my only frustration is that y'all have already
Josh is
won.
going with probably the proper pick. Josh is going to like sweep me and Aaron aside on this and just take a huge lead. Most likely in our tally with this. It's going to happen.
I want to lose so bad.
No, Josh is about to take a huge lead in the scoreboard for just the Super Bowl picks. I'm going totally with my heart. And I have the Buffalo Bills over the Washington Commanders. I love everything Aaron said about Jaden Daniels. I love that dude. He's just as calm in warmups as the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
that's why he doesn't throw picks.
Yep.
I really thought injuries would be an issue. I know he's a rookie, but he is just really thin and he has no concern for his own physical well-being, as was seen at LSU many times. But I love the dude's a gamer. Like he was unbelievable when he played my Bengals earlier in the season too, and that duel as well. I love seeing Terry McLaurin thrive with a really good quarterback. He's been waiting for that this whole time. And this is a fan base that I know they've won Super Bowls before, but they have suffered under Dan Snyder as an owner for a long time. And as a fan of franchises with poor ownership, let's say, I won't be specific in names. My heart feels for fan bases like that, where you feel kind of helpless. And that's so cool that their very first year, like with the new ownership group, that they just instantly got the coach right and the quarterback right. And, Dan Quinn, he has his demons get over in the Super Bowl, perhaps eventually. I think that'd be cool to see them get there, but not as cool as the Bills, who lost 4 straight Super Bowls once upon a time to finally break through. I know the Bills and Bengals are kind of contemporary rivals right now, but I think the Bills would cheer for the Bengals as much as I'm cheering for them in this situation and in the Super Bowl. And so I'd love to see that, maybe the best fan base, in my opinion, in the NFL finally get that Super Bowl. That would be wonderful. I would love that. So Bills over the Commanders is my pick. Going with the heart.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
The guys spent hours scrolling social media, and they found some pretty dumb stuff. Now they want to talk to you about it.
The real ones know that we would call it ooey pooey.
Ooey pooey.
R.I.P. to ooey pooey.
Ooey pooey's the
Got you.
answer.
I didn't even need to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never
done.
mind.
Good luck. It's time for What We're Following.
Ooey pooey.
Aaron, I would like to mention quickly. Sorry
Yes,
again.
go ahead.
The clips are just bringing up lots of memories. I did put a decent wager, perhaps, with my Monopoly money on our friends from the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley.
Do I have
this week? And it worked very well. They
Good.
won their matchup, so that was great. So go Vaqueros.
Yes.
Huge Gerv.
Yes.
Big fans.
Can I do this live? Will it let me? No. At one point I had the UTRGV alma mater loaded in my soundboard, and I don't, which is a travesty. I'll make sure that's fixed for next week. Because again,
Do they have 1 or 2?
well,
because it was
couldn't
the
find
merger of 2 schools.
Right. I couldn't find a fight song. So I just found this choir singing their alma mater. So I'll have that for next week. We can give you a UTRGV update.
Yep.
If you're new to the show, and you don't have a college basketball team, you're legally obligated to root for them because of reasons.
Yes.
Or even if you're not new to the show, this applies to you too.
Go Vaqueros.
Go Vaqueros and ooey pooey. Johnny, I feel like you should probably go first, and because Josh is going to really bring us all the crashing. We're all going to crash out at the end of this show. So Josh has got us set there. So Johnny, go ahead.
We're talking about what we're following, and you're like, guys, what on earth could you be following? Well, other than the fact that what some of you call Bucky's is not Bucky's, it's Busey's, clearly by its spelling. The only other thing that I'm really following is football. So let's be honest. So if you would like to, I think this is just so funny, and it's so Ohio State. And somebody, not a Buckeye fan, tweeted, "This is the funniest football program in college football," because Ohio State in recent history now has won national championships with quarterbacks that are, and listen, I'm not disparaging these quarterbacks, but listen to the comparison here. Craig Krenzel, Cardale Jones, and Will Howard have now won national championships for Ohio State in the same exact time frame. Quarterbacks who have not won the national title for Ohio State: Terrell Pryor, Braxton Miller, JT Barrett, Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, and the worst of all, CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
I mean, and most of these quarterbacks, it was not their fault. Troy, it's a little bit your fault, my friend. Everybody else, though, wow. Just it's unbelievable. I don't understand it. I can't explain it, but hopefully Julian Sand is a good quarterback, but not like elite. That's my hope.
Right.
Because if that's the case, guaranteed back-to-back national championships.
I mean,
just be really, really good, just not the best.
For perspective, technically speaking, Todd Beckman got closer to a national championship than a lot of the guys you just named.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. That's a deep cut for Buckeye fans. But
oh no.
Well, I say deep cut like he didn't make a
though.
championship game, but you know what I mean.
Not Bowserman though.
Oh no. Yeah, I'll have nightmares about that, even though we just won a natty. Yeah. Johnny, I'm with you. It's pretty wild, and it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out, right? Because Devin Brown's gone. Like, you think going in, but again, might be number 1 versus number 2 at the beginning of the year. Trial by fire for whoever does get that job. Yes. And really, I mean, Arch Manning played some games, but it'll be his first career start for Texas, so that'll be wild. Okay, I've got some bad baseball trivia. Now that football season's over, it might be a good time to remind you that we have like pitchers and catchers reporting in like 3 weeks. So this is, of course, by Brooksgate on Twitter. Brooks_gate has all kinds of great graphics. Don't look it up, Josh and Johnny, because I'm about to quiz you on it.
I won't do it.
Today we have the Major League, and for you at home too, if you're listening, don't cheat. Try to play along. At Brooksgate has the Major League Baseball stadium distance to Dunkin' Donuts. So the closest Dunkin' Donuts in miles to these stadiums. So there's one, I think, if you guys really think about it, will be the obvious number 1.
I already got it. So,
okay.
Anyway,
I mean, is it not Fenway Park? I'd be horribly disappointed if it wasn't Fenway Park.
I assume there's just one in each dugout.
In the belt.
Right.
Wait, Aaron, does inside the ballpark count?
I'm assuming
Like,
it
does
would.
inside the ballpark count?
I'm guessing it doesn't actually, because I would think, I've never been to Fenway. I'll check with Silas, my brother-in-law.
But I'm still going to say Fenway. If it's not Fenway,
I
will be upset with myself. Okay, I was going to say, I'm disappointed in Boston if it's not.
I was going to say, like, I'm not even going to do what I'm following if it's not Fenway.
Yeah, it is Fenway. It's according to Brooksgate and the research that he did, and apparently this data is coming from Google Maps, which I love. And apparently he's triangulated this enough to where it's from second base is where this mileage is coming from, which is so specific. It's 0.151 miles.
What?
So, I mean, technically...
That's in the stadium. That's got to be in the stadium.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah. So, with that out of the way, with the obvious number 1 out of the way, what we're going to do is... we'll do both the closest and the farthest away. So we'll start with the closest. Have a stadium in mind or a team in mind, which you think has the closest Dunkin' Donuts within the stadium or close to it. And I will hang on. We'll do a coin flip. We'll make this official. Heads, tails. Josh, I don't know why, but we'll consider you the away team, I guess, because you're further away from me. Would you like heads or tails?
I'll take heads.
And it is heads. Would you like to receive the first selection or defer to Johnny?
No, I shall defer.
Oh, okay, Johnny, your team goes first. Then what team do you think is the closest stadium to Dunkin' Donuts?
The Pittsburgh Pirates.
Okay, PNC Park.
Not
Josh.
bad. I'm gonna go ahead and take. I'll take Yankees.
All right, Josh, I don't fully understand the strategy of letting Johnny potentially steal the top answer. However, you have chosen the correct answer because the number 2 stadium is Yankee Stadium, 0.153, which also I'm assuming means that it's in the stadium
You
itself.
have to go
Wow.
off regionality.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, listen,
Aaron,
you
where
don't-
is Pittsburgh in the
Pittsburgh-
list? Is
Pittsburgh's
Steve,
not. It
it's
was
not
not
good.
a bad pick. It was number 6, 0.44
I'll take
miles.
it. You know what? That's
so
all right.
number
That's
6
all right.
is good. All right. So well done, Josh. You have a point.
Thank you.
It's the first 1 to 2. We're gonna do the farthest distance from a Dunkin'. And Josh, because you deferred, you now receive the first pick of the farthest.
Okay.
What stadium or team would you like that you think is the farthest away from Dunkin'?
I don't want to just. I'm trying to think because regionality. Duncan is expanding west, so
Mhm.
I could stereotype something like the Rockies,
Sure.
or the Dodgers. I think I'm gonna go and play off of like regional coffee preferences. I'll say like the Mariners.
Okay.
Because it's
that's what I
mostly
was gonna
not-
say. That's what I was gonna say. I will say Toronto because that's Tim Hortons country. That's probably a really risky bet, but I'm
that's
gonna
a
say
risky bet.
Toronto.
That's a good.
Okay.
I think that's a good pick though.
I think Seattle's the answer, so I'm gonna risk it.
Johnny,
I-
that's an excellent pick because Toronto checks in at number 29, 41.8 miles away. It is Tim Hortons
Wow.
country. However, T-Mobile Park in
however.
Seattle is 577 miles
Okay,
from
wow.
Dunkin' Donuts. Josh absolutely masterclass on that. Didn't just box Johnny out. Johnny did
Yeah.
as well as he
I-
possibly could have, but clear and
I thought it was
obvious.
Seattle too, Josh.
Yeah.
Good thinking
Yeah.
there.
And just for fun,
I was like Starbucks. It's out west.
right,
yeah.
right. Just for fun, Josh wins the competition. Well done. That was a masterclass. What
I'm really
what do
good
you
at
what
that.
stadium is most medium distance to Dunkin' Donuts? What's the most average stadium to Dunkin'? Do you guys think this is way out there?
Most
but
medium.
yeah, yeah.
The Cardinals.
Okay.
Oh, that's not bad.
Cardinals.
You know, at this point, we're just having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, what's like?
You know what? Let's go like Reds.
Okay.
They pick up
Um,
more scooters than they do.
so this is wild. This is
Did
wild.
we get it? Did we do the 2 most medium picks?
No, we were almost as
Oh.
opposite as you could be. Apparently,
What?
at Great American Ballpark, there's a Dunkin' 0.37 miles, which makes it the number 5 closest.
Whoa.
However,
Dang, Josh.
St. Louis is 7.68 miles away, which makes it the 4th farthest. So technically, Josh wins with his with the Reds because
did
they're
it, Josh.
technically the most
did it.
medium.
Okay, who is the most medium?
The most
Medium.
medium,
Is it like
according
the
to this
Rockies?
list,
Is it Kansas City? Kansas City.
Kansas City's actually kind of far. They're 24. So 15 and 16 are average. The Nationals check in at 1.02. So there's
Really?
so for context,
assume
that means there's 14 stadiums that have a Dunkin' with a mile within their stadium,
That's wild.
which is crazy. And then the Tampa Bay Rays. Well, you know what? That's very interesting. This is the Tampa Bay Rays stadium they're using this year, which is in Florida. I think still it's at
Oh,
the,
so was the A's Sacramento then?
yes, and it would have put them
Wow,
26,
okay.
but the Rays at 1.29 miles are 16. So this is a very up to date list because it's got the Athletics as they're called. They're not. There's no city designation for them this year. They're just the Athletics. Their
Yeah.
3-letter code is going to be ATH. So when you see that on your TV, you'll know why. And then of course the Tampa Bay Rays, due to the hurricane, they're trying to figure out their situation. So yes, that is bad baseball trivia, but it was bad trivia, but the answers were phenomenal. You guys killed it. So well done.
Good
Hats off
trivia.
to bad baseball trivia season 3. That's a great start. It's only downhill from here.
Give me one of them classic baseball hat tricks.
Mhm.
I'm only
Sports
good at the
ball.
trivia that doesn't matter. Ask me, like, how many home runs, like, exist. I don't. Really, hey guys, is the ocean soup?
Oh boy.
I'm bringing you back to the real thing. So remember when I bemoaned TikTok's loss, not because of anything political, but because I had like 170 plus saved what I'm following. That was my primary source.
Right.
I crafted my For You page to be pristine. It
Brick
was
by
it
brick.
may as well have been a business profile. Like, it was fantastic. So I saved a few, and last week we internally voted on why unlimited refills are standard in the States across all restaurants, or is the ocean soup.
Yep.
And Johnny visibly and audibly was disgusted. So obviously we're back to the ocean. Is the ocean soup. Now, someone on TikTok had asked, hey, I'm allergic to seafood. Like, very sensitive. She's like, and I've also never been to the ocean. I know that there are fish in the ocean. And if I get into the ocean, will my allergies pick up? And it was that's a scientific question. I don't know the answer. I've never had to ask that question, but I'm very fascinated to know. So Hank Green comes in and he goes, hey, so he's like, if the ocean is soup, it has to be a seafood soup. And he said it is not a soup, because in his mind, a seafood soup would have to have enough seafood to where if you were allergic to seafood, you would get affected by it. So he said no, because the concentration isn't high enough. He's like, depending on where you are, he's like, still don't play. He's like, if your sensitivity is really that high, don't risk it. Because he himself has like a shellfish allergy, I believe, and he's careful about where he goes. But he's like, it's not significant. He's like, it's not a seafood soup because it's not significant enough of a concentration, so to speak, to where it'll trigger allergies. Which led me to my question: if the ocean is not soup, what is it then? And
Not everything's food, Josh.
Anything's food if you
that
try hard enough.
sounds like, and also here, Johnny, I got a special new audio interface. I can so easily mute you. It's really nice to where, so I have to mute Aaron as well, but I could just go for another 10 minutes and not any the wiser. But I did have to think, listen, if I'm already in this mindset, I may as well spend a little bit of time doing some math. I then went, well, maybe the ocean is a seafood broth.
Oh.
Because you know what the ocean has? A relative salinity. And I determined. So I went to like the culinary standard for a brine. The culinary standard for a brine is about 5 to 6% for like a strong brine. But if I'm making like pasta at home and I'm salting my water, I'm not getting up to that. And I would still say my water's pretty salty. So anywhere from like, let's just say 3 to 6% is like an average salinity across the ocean. Because I'm not a marine biologist or anything, so it doesn't matter. The average salinity of the ocean is 3.5%, which means I think the ocean is a seafood stock or a seafood brine. And that feels better to me.
Well, and you've got some vegetables, kind of, if you consider
So,
like coral and plants and seaweed.
Yes,
Right.
you know exactly where I'm going, Aaron. Thank you for following
It's
me
also
on
rocks and sand.
Because what is a rock or a piece of sand to us? But food we just haven't figured out how to eat yet.
Okay, Josh, you first. You first.
You ever heard of stone soup? Come on. This is
My favorite.
Great book.
Play.
Granite.
Great Aesop's Fables.
Child's play. Come on, man. I propose. So there's like if it's not a soup, but I'm also like, it's maybe not a high enough concentration to be a seafood soup. But now we're into like, there's a lot of other things in the ocean. I raise you. The ocean is God's gazpacho.
Oh my.
cold soup.
Great album name, by the way.
Hey guys, we're God's Gazpacho. Here's our
What's
first
up?
Single.
I'm about to
Why
play the
are we
worst
doing
banjo you've ever heard.
This is all of our musicians play mandolin, and
Right.
we're all bad.
all of them play mandolin.
It's like 10 of us. None
They
of us
all-
tuned.
Oh no.
Josh, I do have one criticism in general, though. Even though
only
it's
one?
cold
Yeah.
soup, don't the ingredients need to be cooked at some level? There needs to be a
for a cold soup?
preparation.
For a
There
cold
needs
soup?
to be like they need to be prepared. They need to be cooked. They
I
need
see
to
what
be
you're saying.
seasoned, and they're not. They're
Yeah,
not. They're not
I
at all. They're
I
fresh.
appreciate
They're
the counter.
alive. Is there an example of a soup that we already have with alive creatures in it that are not cooked yet?
And I'm going to say one word, and this is how I frame it. If I'm going to if I'm going to a 3 Michelin star restaurant and it's like super experimental, and I just put a bowl of ocean water with like some kelp and like, I don't know, a little minnow or something in front of you and go, hey, this is nature soup. Oh, but
Josh,
it's
those
not
aren't the
prepared.
right people. Those aren't the right people to ask. Are you kidding
$300.
me? No, you got to
Three-
ask a normal person off the street, not them.
No,
Josh,
I'm
you
not
could
doing
give them
some Billy
anything and tell them
style.
it's experimental and cool and they'll eat
Exactly.
it.
You know what I'm calling it? You know
Anything.
what
You
I'm
give them
calling it?
anything.
Oh, it's not prepared. You didn't cut the vegetables. No, it's rustic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are you can't determine based
It's
on
de-
those people.
it's-
Those people are
it's
crazy.
Hey, it's deconstructed.
Yeah, right.
Hey,
It's
a riff.
deconstructed
It's a riff
soup.
on.
It's deconstructed
It's the
soup.
It's just the ocean.
Yeah. See, Josh, I was all on board with this, and then Johnny from the top rope came down with the cooked thing. Because look, if you don't
No,
cook
I don't
like the
believe-
chicken for the broth, you are cooked. Like that's not going to be a good day for you.
Right.
Well, that's
Cooked.
why I decided to move
Literally
away
cooked.
from. I believe gazpacho is
Oh, gosh.
a cold soup, but it's a cold soup made of raw vegetables.
Okay,
Sometimes
but
they're blended. Sometimes
we're
they're
saying
not.
meat.
Mhm.
There's a
No.
difference between
I don't
raw
need-
meat and raw
That's why I said-
vegetables.
Well, that's why I said gazpacho, because
We
gazpacho
attribute
does
more
not have
value to
food cooked
animals than to plants. Difference.
as we should, but it doesn't mean that it's not. That doesn't mean that soup is now off the table. We have
So
vegetable
I think
soup.
where I'm settling is I think Josh, you're correct. But if there's animals, then it's just a risk of salmonella. That's what we're talking about.
Well, then fine. I'll take the minnow out.
Okay,
They're not
thank you.
even dead though. It's not like it's just raw. They're still alive.
Does that make it better or worse? Because they're
Worse, I
pooping,
think.
so it's probably worse.
It was worse.
Yeah.
This isn't
I'm
just
not-
like a sushi
not
question
saying-
where
Right.
it's
I'm
like
not saying
alive
you-
or dead. It's like I mean, raw or cooked. The animals are still alive.
I agree with the late great Ian Malcolm when he said your scientists
That he doesn't
so
exist.
preoccupied.
Yeah, we don't know who that is. You just read a random name on the bookshelf. That's not a real person. That's not. Josh okay, guys. So
No, no,
Josh
no.
thinks
No,
the
no, no.
ocean is a soup. Therefore, he also thinks that lobster tank at Myers, that's
No,
soup too.
no,
Yep.
no.
Yes.
Here's
By
the- no.
definition, same thing. Same.
Okay, two things. One, Ian Malcolm, you guys, I'm so
We
disappointed
insulted
in you guys.
somebody actually very famous,
Probably.
probably.
Ian Malcolm is the scientist played by Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park.
Oh.
You uncultured swine.
Oh, so not even real. This is a
We were
fake
right.
person.
We were right.
This is not even real.
The joke
Oh.
is that he's not dead because I was quoting Jurassic Park. Your scientists were so preoccupied with thinking if they could, they didn't stop to think that they should.
Fair.
I'm not saying that this is a morally virtuous soup to eat. I'm not saying anybody should eat this. I'm saying
Is it prohibited in scripture?
Not what should be.
I
Like,
get
can't
you,
eat
Josh.
So again, I'm not talking about whether or not this ought to be real. I'm kind of sticking with like based on the definitions that I have said, which is a little bit of salinity, vegetables somewhere in there, kelp, seaweed, just seaweed soup.
Rock,
Rocks,
sand.
sands.
Fish poop.
I would like to go back to, because I don't think we're going to get anywhere in this argument. I would like to go back to what we talked about, like having a seafood allergy. Like if you really boil it down, allergies are a wild thing. Like your body just decided one day, like, wow, seafood, this sucks.
This
Like,
sucks so
no-
bad.
No thanks.
I'm going to. I don't know what
I'd
I
rather
can say.
die.
I'd rather die.
I'd rather
I'd
die.
rather die than let you put seafood into me.
Yep.
Our bodies are so dramatic sometimes.
Yes.
My
Yes, they are.
goodness.
And like some things, maybe like I'll not that I get it, but it's like okay, maybe like a big thing like seafood or just because it's prevalent, like peanuts. But like I have friends who are allergic to cinnamon, and that feels
Oh,
like
that's rough.
it's like, hey, I can't like, and it's sensitive enough. He can't really even like be in the presence of like the smell of cinnamon.
Whoa.
It doesn't kill him, but I'm like,
That's crazy though.
imagine your body just woke up one day and said, I freaking hate Christmas so much that anytime Christmas and Thanksgiving
Yeah.
done,
Yep.
anytime that I come within 400 feet, I have signed my own restraining order against cinnamon. Against
Yeah,
your will.
yeah.
I will.
It was not notarized, but it
Not
is still in
notarized.
effect.
It is still in effect.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Well, breaking news to end the show. Al Golden, Johnny, is heading to the Cincinnati
Yes.
Bengals.
We were hoping for that.
All right.
Very good.
Good. Yeah.
He was the linebackers coach at Cincinnati before
Mhm.
going back to college.
Yep.
Hey. Also, breaking news since we're talking about updates on our teams. I think I checked this. Thank you, Jay Kuda, on Twitter. I believe the Steelers are the only team to
Ready to pay Russell Wilson $100 million.
Oh my gosh! Okay, yes, that, but also I think we're one of the few teams, probably not the only, to have not won a playoff game. I think in the past 8 years, it's always like first round exits.
Wow.
Oh, I don't think the Jets have.
Oh, the Jet.
In the last 8 years, I don't think so.
Past 8 years, that's fair. But that's not
Good
coming in
company,
when we are.
Josh.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, contrary to how the last part of the show went, we are very positive. We're very happy that.
We're very happy.
Yes, we
With
are.
our college team, with a bunch of 19-year-olds who we don't know.
That's right. But we love them a lot. Heck of a
Yeah.
season, Ohio State. You guys deserve all the celebrating and all the awards and honors and everything that comes with being a national champion. It is deserved. And quite the season, quite the Hollywood ending, really, to it all. So it's a good time. And for Buckeye fans too, you guys enjoy this too. Like, yes, we are spoiled, but it's also been a decade since we've won this thing. So, and for some of you, like I really felt my age when I got on TikTok and everyone's like, oh, I was a little too young to remember the 2014 national championship. This one's great. And I'm like, oh my
man.
gosh.
Oh,
My
no.
word. So anyways, if you are one of those people enjoying the Buckeyes winning a national championship for the first time in your lifetime when you had cognitive thoughts, then welcome. Enjoy this one. It'll
We all
stick
had to
with you
start
for a long time.
somewhere. For us, it was 02. For you, 2024.
Yep.
But congratulations. I'm glad you're here with us.
And we are in our mid-20s. Don't forget. All right.
Yay.
Not
We're
mid-20s, Josh. Just roll with it. Roll with it.
okay. Mid-20s.
Thank you.
mid-20s.
Thank you.
I have
All right,
I didn't
listeners.
see a gray hair yesterday. It's fine.
Yeah, right. All right, listeners, thanks for being here. YouTube, thanks for all of your support on the live stream. It's fun to see a lot of you come through and celebration of the Buckeyes and the title and all that. So enjoy this week, whatever you're getting into, NFL playoffs. There's really good NBA this weekend. There's, of course, college basketball, whatever it is. Enjoy it. We will see you all next week. Have a good one.